How did that person in your class become rich? Started online gambling sites back in the 90s, dropped out of high school, millionaire by 20, overdosed by 25. Edit OD changed to overdosed. A girl from my hometown won an island on a Mr. Beast video. It was worth millions. She's in the process of selling it currently. Until that money comes through, she's just living life like normal. I imagine that must be a great place to be in, knowing most of your problems are about to disappear but not yet overly intoxicated by money. Guy that I grew up hit big with Crocs. His family moved away when I was about 6th grade, but my older brother remains friends with his older brother. I guess the guy worked selling insurance and was offered an opportunity to invest in Crocs, the weird shoes. He went for it and got a few checks back in the $5 to $10 million range. I learned this through my brother, and I think it is true. Remembered the Bitcoin wallet they used to buy drugs with. Lecturer of mine rode the IT wave at exactly the right time and had a damn fine head for business. He was a workaholic at age 30, started a business offering remote tech support, which was a new idea at the time, signed on some super big clients who were enamored of the idea, and built a giganto house from the proceeds that pissed everyone off. Sold the business and then died of a heart attack at 45 or so though. So, yeah. There can be complications. She started working for a little company called Microsoft in the mid-1980s. She retired at 40. Edit well, thanks for the platinum, I did not expect this to blow up. Drug dealing ring. And then he got raided and was arrested and was sentenced to 15 years in prison. So you take the good with the bad, I suppose. He dropped out of high school at 15 to be a pro skateboarder. People laughed, he's now worth 50 mil. She oopsie got pregnant by a guy whose family is worth $800 million. People thought he was a loser skateboard kid, now he has a successful skateboard shop and sponsors events. Not my close friend but a kid in my English class, really fucking smart kid. He entered a coding robotics competition and got 3rd place. He was pretty bummed out for a while. First prize was a scholarship for a pretty big university. And 3rd place got a lousy 500 Bitcoin. He kept the 500 Bitcoin despite people telling him to cash it and get the $100 or whatever it was worth. Anyway, he cashed it at the peak of Bitcoin and is now living pretty fucking well with his $30 mil. The best wealth story I ever heard was a nerdy computer guy, early internet adopter, realized things like all would be valuable. So he bought up all the websites he could and just had a landing page that said page for sale, contact me. Badabing badaboom. A good friend worked at an early Subway and they helped him buy a franchise. He ended up with a dozen, sold the group and retired. He wrote Hamilton. Scammed Medicare through his company, over $2 billion. Awaiting trial now. Opened a cannabis dispensary in Los Angeles when the get-in was good. Grew up in Silicon Valley, went to good schools studying computers, started a company, sold it a few years later. Started another company, sold it later for more millions. I went to school and was friends with the guy who founded Uber. He offered to take my SATs for me for $500 as we looked alike, and he is very smart. He was always that guy. He got in extremely early on Bitcoin. Like, within the first few days. At one point he had 300 Bitcoin. He sold a good chunk of it in like 2013 when it was like $300 coin. But he kept 60 or 70, which he still has to this day. He also invested a bunch of money in Tesla on day one, and Nvidia about 10 years ago too. In other words, he's just made super good lucky financial decisions. I've got two. One guy was extremely gifted in music. I remember my dad going to the talent show and said this guy is going to be the next Jimi Hendrix. Well, not quite, but he has performed plenty of times with Lady Gaga. His name is Ricky Tillo. The other guy did voices in high school all the time. He would hop on the PA system and do cartoon voices. He was recently in the Mario movie as Toad General and is literally the new voice of Bugs Bunny and a ton of other popular cartoon guys. Eric Borza. She got into a relationship with someone who played soccer and he happened to get scouted all the way to the best soccer clubs in the world. Opened a small pawn shop with private booths to do your business. Then after he made a fortune, he sold it and went into welding, then became a huge Christian. He says everybody pretends that his porn money didn't help rebuild the church. They became a lawyer and married another lawyer. Most people I went to school with who got rich started rich. Big time stoner who I always thought was a lazy scumbag who would never amount to anything. He went on to start one of America's most successful marijuana edible companies. Classy billboard ads in multiple cities. My mom bought their CBD gummies for a while. Every year he donates millions of dollars of his company's profits to bail funds for people of color who've been arrested for marijuana possession. He is more successful and has done more objective good for the world than I ever have or will. Turns out I was a bitter judgmental loser in high school. His dad gave him his multi-million-dollar business when he graduated. He royally fucked up, got himself shot and his mistress killed. Selling life insurance policies, then selling their soul to GitHub. Born to a multi-billionaire family company, now works at a satellite office in a different region to be kept out of the way. He wasn't very bright, takes half the year off to vacation. Got salmonella from Wendy's chili. He invested in Bitcoin in 2013. I graduated with Halsey. Hot girl. She married a ridiculously rich guy. Had 2 kids with him, then left him and took half his money plus child support. Married another ridiculously rich guy, left him and took half his money. Currently gets alimony and child support from 2 different guys. Constantly changes her name on her Facebook profile to try a new one on even though she's pushing 50 now. There were 2 of them. They both starred on the American version of The Office. A guy in the grade above me was one of the founders of Dogecoin. I wouldn't say rich, but I know she got a nice chunk of change suing the theme park whose ride mauled her. Imagine medical bills ate it up, though. NBA All-Star. He was a pretty okay guy, but we ran in different circles. Guy went to Exeter High School, then MIT. Started his own powertrain company, sold a patent to the Department of Defense, retired at 34 living in San Fran. Edit Phillips Exeter Academy is the one, someone helped me out with the name. My HS Billy is a beauty YouTuber and model. Terrible person as you might imagine. Good for her though, there is an entire Reddit sub about her being a piece of shit and I love reading through people's assessment of her personal life, and mooch of a husband bring me joy knowing people see right through her too. Married a drug dealer con artist. Now he's dead and she owns a few houses worth several million. I did vocational high school, which is the lowest education in my country next to mentally disabled education. Most kids end up as a cleaning woman, a factory worker, or doing volunteer work while getting supported by disability benefits like me. Now there's this one kid who got very rich after he left high school. He has a huge farmhouse, expensive cars, and he all achieved this by starting a company where he sells expensive horse breeds on his farm. His parents were also rich, so I think that's also a good start, that he managed to pay most of it by himself and became a businessman. A high schoolmate of me went to college and left college at first year, did a cooking course and found his passion. He is now the best chef in the city and will probably get a Michelin star next year. Sold fake Magic the Gathering cards. Then sold duped items on deal low. Sold his Star Wars Galaxies account when he was one of the first to get Jedi status. Then he opened a legit hard apple cider company. Also parents' money and married